Almost don't need a sermon. We don't need a sermon at this point after that powerful reading. But you're going to get one anyway. I am delighted to be back with you again this Sunday morning. Your dear faces are just so precious coming across the screen. I came from worship on Zoom earlier with the Congregational Church, and we've had the opportunity for the last several months to worship in person in the sanctuary. So really felt like a very difficult step backward. But what I noticed was that with the benefits of Zoom, we were able to look at one another's faces again without masks. We weren't sitting in rows looking at the backs of each other's heads. So there's something very precious about the whole Zoom experience that allows us to be together face to face under very difficult circumstances otherwise. So I'm just delighted to be with you. Also impressed at the wonderful lead-in to the sermon that both Sue's comments about Karen Brown's intention to make her life about being sure that no one ever goes hungry, and about Peter's intention to maybe not know exactly how, but how to interface with the threats to our democracy that are in front of us these days. Those are powerful intentions. What I'm going to offer is maybe a little simpler. We don't always have an easy time of it, deciding how we're going to move into the future. And so we'll just reflect together a little bit about it, maybe an easier way. So what I would like to do for us this morning is to invite you just for a moment to take a few easy, deep breaths and kind of relax into wherever you're sitting, or if you're lying down, to just get comfortable. And then I would like to offer this biblical intention for our time together. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of all our hearts be acceptable in your sight, source of all life, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. So during the past week, as I was reflecting on intention, and believe me, the whole notion has lived with me every moment. It's been challenging, to say the least, how to go about entering life with intention. So I thought it might be good to differentiate between intention and goal setting and making resolutions. They can get conflated, and we all know that resolutions can disappear, sort of like the bubbles in the champagne on New Year's Eve. We start out with goodwill and a commitment, and then a week or two, and either we've forgotten, or it's gotten too hard, or we just can't keep faith with what we've resolved to do. Creating or setting an intention is a little bit different than creating resolutions for the year or setting goals as we head into a really uncertain future. So I'd like to reflect on Rabbi Art Green's explanation of the Hebrew word kavanah. Kavanah. And it literally means direction. In Judaism, kavanah, and I'm going to try to say this right, kavanat halev means a direction of the heart. How do we find the direction of the heart? What's involved in that? And I'll quote Rabbi Green here. He says, in Judaism, it refers to kavanat halev, directing the heart to God or whatever is your highest governing principle. Praying, studying, performing acts of justice and loving kindness in such a way that we are inwardly turning towards a holy presence, offering our words or deeds as gifts upon an inner altar. And I love the idea of kavanat halev, or directing the heart. So as I meditated through the week on today's theme relative to living with intention, the word values just kept showing up. and how important our innermost values are in shaping an intentional life. In one of the articles in the Soul Matters materials that Sue shared with me, Philip Moffat, in an article titled The Heart's Intention, suggests that there is indeed a difference between resolutions and goal setting on the one hand, and setting an intention on the other. He writes, with goals, the future is always the focus. Am I going to reach the goal? Will I be happy when I do? What's next? Setting an intention, at least according to Buddhist teachings, is quite different than goal making. Setting an intention is not oriented toward a future outcome. Instead, it is a path or a practice that is focused on how we are being in the present moment. For those of us who have struggled with creating and keeping resolutions and goals for ourselves over the years, this notion of setting an intention might come either as a welcome relief, or maybe it's just one more insurmountable challenge. But Moffat continues, when setting an intention, our attention is on the ever-present now, in the constantly changing flow of life. We set our intention based on what matters most to us. We make a commitment to align our world action with our inner values. So many preachers this Sunday are acknowledging that we are entering another year that already promises a lot more uncertainty. And as a people, we are nearing exhaustion with concern over COVID, over climate change, over the state of our democracy, over inflation. And on the personal level, a health crisis, the death of a loved one, uncertain finances all add to that level of uncertainty. Hopes and goals and expectations have had to be reshaped or postponed or given up completely. And so many of us experience a sense of fatigue, a strange disconnect from the passage of time. I've heard so many people say that, they can't remember before and after the beginning of COVID. Time has seemed to expand and contract around that. So we're kind of losing a bit of resilience, and that affects how we live together in community. So what do we intend for our lives? How do we identify the intentions that we want to shape our lives, the intentions for how to be in this really crazy world? How might our intentions help us to live more authentically heart-centered lives in a world so full of uncertainty? In a conversation following worship last week, I heard a woman observe that the spiritual discipline that will define our times is that of learning how to live graciously and confidently and generously in the midst of pervasive uncertainty. Being able to cultivate our intention for healthy, creative living in the midst of chaos and uncertainty is a huge spiritual calling. So we're called to ask, what matters most to me at the level of my spirit? What are my deepest heart and soul values? From the depths of my heart, what do I want to bring to the world with my own being? No less a figure than Lao Tzu, who was the founder of Taoism and the author of the Tao Te Ching, also sends us inward to find the source of our highest intention. And he wrote, at the center of your being, you have the answer. You know who you are, and you know what you want. So the answer to all those heart questions will be different for all of us, but they have the potential to lead us on the journey to more authentic and intentional living. An intention has the power to mold our way of being in the world. I often think, what delight might follow if, on waking in the morning, my intention went like this: may gratitude for all the beauty and order in nature fill me throughout this day. How might a day unfold differently if we started out with a classic heart-centered Buddhist intention based in loving kindness? May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well in body and spirit. May I be happy and at ease. May I be free from danger. And it takes only seconds to offer that same intention for all of those that we love, that are close to us. It only takes a few seconds to offer that intention to all of those with whom we find conflict. And then it takes another few seconds to offer that same intention to all human beings, even those that we will never meet. When we start a day with that kind of intention, we can kind of watch, perhaps with delight, perhaps with chagrin, how our day unfolds. An intention sets positive energy in motion in a way that will support the resolutions and the goals that we make for our lives. One of the most challenging, and I have to admit this, it's a rough one for me, but it's one that I use each day to try to guide my life. One of the most challenging and transforming intentions for me is one that I use regularly. And it's part of the morning prayers in the Jewish tradition and comes from a prayer for all of creation. And it's an intention that sets my day in motion in a particular way. And the intention is this: may nothing I do mar the holiness of life by causing any other creature to lose the joy of living. When I face the day with that intention on my heart, it strikes me as profoundly comprehensive and inclusive. May I never cause any other creature to lose the joy of living. I like to imagine how the mundane encounters in our lives might be transformed by living with intention. How might we be transformed? How might a simple thing like shopping at the Stop and Shop be transformed by offering the intention on entering the store? May all beings be happy. May all beings be well in body and mind. May all beings enjoy respect. And as I was thinking about this through the week and kind of carrying that intention with me, I realized that every time someone walks into the Stop and Shop in Vineyard Haven, that door opens and sends a cold, bitter blast at the person who's working at that first checkout station. So it became incumbent upon me to simply recognize with that person, you must freeze every time that door opens. And you know what the person said back to me? Thank you for recognizing that. You know, a simple little thing like the intention that all people might deserve respect. I wonder what might budget and ministry meetings at church look like if they began with the intention, may we and all beings be filled with loving kindness. If we shared that intention together, how might our gatherings proceed when the issues can be a little testy? When we're anticipating a challenging interaction with a friend or a family member, perhaps an intention like, may I be at ease, may I be filled with patience, may I be peaceful. Maybe that intention has the power to affect the outcome of a potentially difficult situation or conversation. And setting that same intention for the other parties may have the power for creating a more harmonious interaction. May he or she be at ease. May he be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May she be peaceful. In a sense, when we have created an intention for ourselves, what we're doing is entering each moment more mindfully, more present to what is, rather than creating scenarios or telling ourselves stories about what or what might not happen. Setting an intention helps to mitigate anxiety. As we enter the next moment, we tend to create less drama when we can let our intention from the deep desire in our hearts create more harmony and less suffering in the world. When we are more present to any situation or interaction with a clear and simple intention, it's much more likely to unfold in a more satisfying way. So making resolutions and goals can be fun as well as challenging, and we all need to set directions for our lives in the midst of chaos and uncertainty. Making a practice of setting our intentions about how we will fulfill our goals and resolutions might help us to carry them out more skillfully and effectively. We're still on the threshold of a new year. And with all the negative news that continually bombards us, it is tempting to submit to the brain fog. That's become a technical term in our time, brain fog. The moments of despair or helplessness or anger that inevitably present their seductive pull on our consciousness, they kind of jar us out of the present moment. But we have the power of intention to shape a different reality from the one that seeks to impose itself on us. The intentions that arise out of our deeply held heart values have the power to change us and to change the world wherever we encounter it, even at the Stop and Shop. So setting an intention may begin simply with the question, how do I want to enter this day? How do I want to show up as I try to live out my highest values arising from my heart center? How do I want to be more compassionate, more loving, more generous and hospitable, more sensitive, more socially aware, more just, more forgiving? These are deep heart values. And the value shapes the intention. May I be filled with compassion. May my heart be open. May I welcome all who cross my path. May I act with justice. May I offer forgiveness. Some time ago, I came across an intention in the form of a metta, or loving kindness intention from the Buddhist tradition. And curiously, it was recontextualized for non-Buddhist practice by grounding it in two different verses, one from the Hebrew Bible and one from the Christian Bible. And the first verse comes from Exodus 19, verses 5 through 6. As the Holy One establishes the central identity for the people of God as they embark on their 40 years in the wilderness. The Holy One speaks to the people, "You shall be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation." What a powerful intention for a diverse, scrappy clan of human beings who will be about the journey toward becoming a cohesive community. The second verse comes from 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9, and it echoes the sentiment as a grounding source of spiritual identity. And that verse reads, "You are a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's own people." Metaphorically, we are to be priests and priestesses, holy people to one another and to the world. When these particular intentions settle into our depths, they have the power to shape us for holy living, for holy lives. our intentions arising out of our deeply held values, help us to fulfill this responsibility, this priestly responsibility to one another and to the world. So as we close this time of reflection, may this be our intention. As we enter this day, may we be peaceful. May we be happy. May we embody love and understanding. May loving kindness manifest through our lives. May we receive the priesthood of all whom we meet. May we offer our priesthood to others. May we dwell in peace. So be it. Amen.